spoiler warning, people. We're going to be spoiling the heck out of it again. So blank the screen and let's get to it.
There were so many good things to kick this thing off. I mean, right at the gate, the theft, the heist of the TIE fighter, which, weaves all in. That's his new ship, I guess,
Yeah.
And it wasn't the one he was planning on getting, and then he got it anyway, and he went to go forward, and he went backwards, just like, what movie was it?
Oh, yeah, that was totally a callback from Independence Day. I don't know if anybody else got that, but that was totally from Independence Day. They do the same exact thing.
Yep, that's right, in the alien ship.
In an
that's
alien
right.
ship,
yes,
yeah, they weren't familiar
I didn't
with.
make that connection. Yeah. Okay.
Those Independence Day people.
That was totally an Independence Day remark. And that ship was called the TIE Avenger, but we are calling it... the bow tie. Maybe we should call it the bow tie Avenger.
The bow tie Avenger.
Because it looked fancy. It was a fancy tie, so it's a bow tie, and it fits with the wedding.
It does. It was a nice. That was like the nice vehicle you would take to the wedding, right? Get it all shined up.
Ooh man, can you imagine showing up in that?
It was pretty shiny, even though it kind of crashed.
So shiny.
Got beat up by getting shot at by those punk kids, but
yeah. Exactly, but Brasso, back to Brasso though. Let's just touch on it now. That was rough, dude. That
was a rough way to end 3. That's why I didn't. It's hard for me to pick 3 as my favorite, but
because they hit you with 2 gut punches, really, in 3, right? Yeah, they get. We get the controversy scene.
Yeah,
well, more than that. There's 3 because of the wedding.
Oh, you're right. There's even more.
Yeah. Well, there's a bunch in the wedding.
There's a bunch. What are you talking about? There's so many things happening.
Yeah.
There is a bunch.
Yeah, what are they? So you got Tay Colma that's about to get deleted. And
per Bismo.
Yeah, per Bismo. He was calling it the whole... He's not wrong. And obviously, where it looks like it's leading that way, unless she's just keeping an eye on him. I will say maybe she's just keeping an eye on him to make sure. I think he's gone. I agree. But so we got that. Mon Mothma's breaking down because
she's cracked.
She's cracking, dude, because of Tay Colma betraying her daughter being a total brat,
and officially saying, "Heck yeah, I'm getting married. I'm out of here."
Yeah,
You're
dude.
crazy.
Yeah. And just how wrong that is. She's a child bride. This is ridiculous.
I know, dude.
But customs, right? Gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just crazy, and it was just crazy the fact that she chose that too, the kid.
Yeah,
it was almost in a way to stick it to her mom. That was the feeling you get.
Yeah.
And her mom's like trying to help her along the way. And if she only knew, that's like the pain of watching it some ways. It's like, if she only knew what she's trying to do for you and the entire flipping galaxy, kid.
Exactly.
Be grateful. But she turns out to be a total jerk. Even though her mom was still consulting her when her boyfriend or betrothed, I guess you could say, wasn't even holding her hand.
Yeah.
It was so childish in some ways, but again, it fits. It was like an arranged, almost child wedding, which is wrong in a lot of ways too. So that was wrong. She was breaking. Anyway, then you got Bix breaking. Obviously, she was already mentally like disturbed. The nightmare that she had, which was super creepy.
Yeah, it was.
But at least she's getting better in some ways, I guess you could say. She's not like a total wreck at this point because the year has passed, but she's still having nightmares. It made sense. And it was funny, you know, she has nightmares about that. I have nightmares about the power of many.
Yeah.
Oh, too soon? And then we got Andor, really. He, at the very end of episode 3, man, was breaking down. And that was tough to watch, especially his best friend, Brasso, eating it. And that's what I said before the stream. I was so nervous they were going to do it. It unfortunately made sense in my mind with Gilroy because I'm like, ooh, Brasso, he's not really a main character, and we don't see him in Rogue One, so he doesn't have plot armor, but we all like him, so it's going to mean more to us when he dies, and it's going to suck so much more. So that's why I said at the beginning of the live watch along last night, I was like, do you think Brasso's going to make it? And they showed that.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. You guys picked that out a long time ago. You guys. Yeah.
Well, Nick says everyone's going to die. And
that's
he's
true.
Probably not wrong.
Yeah. And this,
right.
It might be the tragedy that leads to the tragedy of Rogue One.
Yeah. Probably.
You know, we're all just watching tragedies.
Yeah. Why do we like it so much?
I don't know.
Just kidding.
There's enough levity in it. So Brasso was a gut punch. But let's go to some good things, man. There's some excellent things in here that I absolutely loved. I loved the fact that they introduced Yavin 4. That was cool. That's why that whole arc with the Lost Boys, which technically they were called Oh shoot!
Well, the Maya Bay.
Maya
Pay.
Which they were referenced from Saw Gerrera in season 1. He said that they were lost, and he's not wrong if you see it, because they lost their leader and they literally fell apart like crazies.
Mm-hmm.
So they are the Lost Boys, huh?
Yeah, they basically are the Lost Boys, and it was comical in some ways in the beginning, but the gags started to get a little old by the end, I will have to say. Although I did enjoy the Jurassic Park feel.
The Jurassic Park feel, yeah.
I did.
It kind of felt like a little bit of a detour to hold Andor up.
Yeah.
To make things progress elsewhere. But, again, we'll probably see them again. It makes me want to look at Rogue One again. Are any of those guys like part of the crew or part of the group? Remember when Andor walks up in the hangar bay? There's a bunch of like soldiers. I wonder if like in that group is supposed to be maybe some of these guys.
Yeah.
The ones that stuck with, although they were all kind of like punks to Andor. Like pretty much both sides were punk to Andor. Right. Nobody out of that group was nice to him.
Yeah, right? Nobody.
And they're on Yavin 4. So it makes me think that maybe they a couple of them maybe make it out.
That's a good
point. They refine themselves. They end up staying on the base. Maybe I know where these pyramids are. We can build a base over there. Maybe they already have they build a little thing there or something.
Yeah, they stay there and they actually establish. So those guys, Maya Pei guys, might end up, they're going to be playing Battle of the Five Hands or whatever.
Yeah, but I'm guessing now because of Andor. Time. Well, and they crash landed there, right? I mean, or whatever. We don't know exactly how they crash landed or how they.
Sure, they said they left with a ship, didn't they? But then everybody was like,
"Oh, someone left to go get
help or something."
Yeah.
Porco was the one that was supposed to be there still.
Yeah, but it sounded like they killed Porco, or.
But then they joked about it. But then,
or the animals did it. Yeah, I don't know. It was kind of confusing in some ways too with that whole group and that whole time frame. I feel like it wasn't a terrible thing what they did. It just didn't have a greater significance other than to hold up, and then being on Yavin 4. Those are the only two things. Unless those characters come back, that's the other thing. I originally thought when he was flying in that it was going to be a reference to season 1 trying to find his sister.
That's kind of how I thought too.
I thought that would have actually.
Well, it was just interesting. You think like in season 2, like we've already met all the people we need to meet. We just need to watch how it's going to go. But no. They're like, no, we're going to give you a bunch more characters in the Lost Boys, and
they were funny though.
All of the new people on the Imperial place when they were having that meeting, and then a couple of people at the wedding and the party there. I mean, we're still meeting new people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, in the first 3 episodes, we saw everybody from season 1.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the first we were counting down.
Yeah, just about everybody in the first episode we saw, except for Cyril. Poor Cyril.
Oh, that's true.
Didn't make it in episode 1, but then we got a lot of them in episode 2 and 3. I keep saying that.
Right.
Yeah.
But speaking of which, you want to jump into some comments. I see the people are excited to talk. Oh, you want to talk about that?
Oh, no. She just said, I don't know if Porco was related to Porkins in any way.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was hoping. We were talking about that last night. We're like, is that Porkins? We need Porkins. He's still alive at this point.
Exactly.
Porkins, where are you?
Where are you?
I hope they add him in some way. I think that would be absolutely hilarious.
It would be hilarious.
Porkins into this. That would be so good, dude. Porkins needs his time. But what I'm seeing though here in the chat, and I think this is probably one of the best parts of the whole show for us in some ways, for the levity and how fun it is. We're getting Deadroll people. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. We're getting Deadroll people. Deidre and Cyril survive, and they are an item. Let me tell you. They are, yeah. Yeah, 100% an item. And circling back to Bismo, he made a video about it today, so definitely go watch it and enjoy it. He covers Cyril and Deadroll, which is it sounds dark, but it kind of makes sense for them and how creepy this relationship is. And I heard some other reviewers talking about it too, and they were saying it's like maybe it was Biz. I'm sorry, I'm getting things mixed up here. But I was like, how they're like such dark characters, but you still want to root for them. Yeah. You're like, I don't understand this, how I feel about this. But we're getting Deadroll people, and what a funny bit of television there that we got to see.
Sitcom-ish or something even? Or like you really could add the laugh track.
Yeah,
I already had the thought. I was like, dude, this is totally like
boo boop doo.
Yeah, with the right music.
Sitcom,
yeah.
It's bizarre with the mother. I mean, because you're like, okay, they're together. This is different. This is what we expected. After that passionate ending in season 1 where he saves her.
Yep.
And he but then everybody's like, oh no, he's a stalker. Me. It was like, well,
It wasn't.
It did
wrong.
appear that way. It did appear that way, but
Well,
it was
a little stalker-like.
He was very passionate. It did appear that way. It clearly changed, and she's doesn't quite. I mean, their relationship is bizarre based on their upbringing. Their upbringing. You know,
well, we get that though.
Dedra, well, yeah, she explained some of her backstory,
and it makes sense.
How her parents were cooks, and she was raised in a whatever.
Yeah, by the Empire, basically, right?
Yeah, was it like something block? I think she called it like an imperial block.
Yeah,
and so must have been like imperial daycare, and then you just go to imperial school, and then you become an officer, you know, or whatever. And then if you're really good, you become in the ISB, and they could program you from the beginning.
Yeah, which, I mean, you can tell by the way that she is. And her upbringing that she's like a Terminator. She reminds me of a Terminator in some ways. Like she was programmed to do that. She only thinks in like, this is what I need to do. I will get it done. And logic. It's all like logic based. In a lot of ways. So,
and then
the catastrophe that
is she allowed to be with Cyril? You know what I'm saying? Like in the ISB, like are there no attachments? But in reverse,
I don't think so.
Are there any kind of laws, security clearances?
Maybe that,
because in the military back in the day in this country, you weren't allowed to get married unless the military approved it.
If you had a certain level of top secret clearance, right?
No, I just mean like period in the military. Like,
oh, really?
Your commanding officer approved you getting married.
I did not know that.
Because you're at that point, you're a soldier. You have to be, because otherwise you just take off and be like, I'm getting married. I'm out of here for a week or two.
Right.
You're like, no, we need you in the battle. So I wonder if in this Imperial ISB thing, they're like, well, we got to prove everything because we got to background check everybody, got to clear everybody. And clearly he had a mess up on Morlana 1, but so has she. So did she get demoted and now she's working her way back up? So at this point, they don't care about her anymore. They're like, you're just cleaning, the ISB bathrooms.
Well, yeah, that was an interesting take though, too, even how she did kind of get demoted and she did have to work her way back up from what happened on Ferrix and how poorly that went. And even her commanding officer mentioned that. And then that's why he was like, take the win, take this, do the best with it. And one of the brilliant lines he said about that was how Axis, he said, you made Axis out to be this, what did he say? What was the word he used? Shoot, to be this huge villain or something like that. But prove that he's there before you make him famous. I think that's what it was. Prove that he's there first and then make him famous. What you did the first time was you made him famous and then you tried to prove him he was there and you haven't yet. So it was hollow. And that's why it was interesting why he was trying to give her a career path like forward and trying to help her out, which was interesting.
Yeah, the Gorman thing. Yeah.
And how she didn't want it, which was weird. That's the other thing. Is she actually getting a conscience now? Is the Terminator getting a conscience? Or or was it just because she really just wanted to focus in on Axis? Like that's just her thing. That's like her coup de grace in some ways.
Or she becoming a family person and she wants to settle down with Cyril and meet the mom and she doesn't want any crazy assignments like murdering, massacring, I should say, different people on different planets that she doesn't care about,
Yeah, right.
But it's true. There's, these certain officers, they'll chase a cold case their entire life and then they'll solve it like 50 years later. They'll never give up on these things. In the ISB, if she could prove it right after all these years, and of course something's going to be proven right, it's not going to unravel well because we know how it ends. I think we know how it ends. But,
we'll see.
Yeah.
But speaking of which, we got... Hunter Davis says, well, real quick, he says, Dedra probably going to be the highlight of the show. And I think we can agree. That is already the highlight of the show for us and only up from here. But then he follows that up with a super chat.
Wow. What?
Hi, I'm right here. The super chat caused Dustin to sneeze.
That came out of nowhere.
And here he is.
Sorry.
But thank you.
You made me sneeze, Hunter, for that super chat. I was blown away, buddy. Thank you so much. Goodness. He did not have to do that. And all he put there was cash money in the
Hunter
bank.
Davies.
Hunter the Davies.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you so much, dude. We appreciate you. You are awesome. And cool. Well, that's awesome.
You can like his super chat.
You can like his super chat? I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's a new feature. And you can reply to it.
It's been like that for a little bit, but yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well, we usually on the stream doing this. I'm not usually.
Yeah.
I can't really. Anyway, so Cyril and Dedra, hilarious. Let's talk about the funniest scene though with them was right before the funniest scene though was her trying on the outfit and then she smiled.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the heck was that? But also that was a really nice smile. I'm not gonna lie. That was actually a really nice smile. She looked normal for once.
Yeah.
And then immediately went back to like, go ahead, back checker.
It was just so strange to kind of humanize her in that way when she was torturing people in season 1.
Yeah.
She's, you know, all about, just the Imperial vibe. She is in the Empire and
dark.
They do bad things.
Yeah.
And then she's human. She's a real person. She's worried about what she's going to wear and impress the potential mother-in-law. It just is such a funny juxtaposition.
Yeah. The comedy of them being nervous, nervous, and how he's like, we could pretend like you're not back. And she's like, we can't cancel again, which is weird, grabs his face. I was like, what the heck are you doing? Yeah. But it just kind of added to the weird dynamic of their relationship and how you understand, we talked about it in the stream, that Cyril did not have a father figure in his life. Kind of why he is the way that he is. He didn't have a strong father figure in his life. So it makes him I'm not saying he's weaker necessarily, but he's kind of more beta male in some ways, at least in this relationship, because it seems like she wears the suit pants here, Deidre, but also now knowing how Deidre was raised, and that it makes sense. And oddly enough, it works for them. Mm-hmm. But the nervousness they felt before, what's the mom's name? Edie. How she came over, and all I want to say there is that was a mastercraft. That whole sequence was a Edie. Sorry, Edie. I'm so sorry. I'll get it right eventually. Edie did that so well.
Yeah, she rocked it.
The mental jabs that were going on, like the little barbs they were throwing at each other, and how much it messed with Cyril.
Yeah,
it was just brilliantly written. I mean, just ridiculous.
It's like meeting the in-laws for the first time, times 10.
Yeah, and you could see him dying inside. I mean, the poor guy, he's already screwed up enough, and then she's torturing him even more. Yeah. He had to go take a nap. I mean, that's crazy.
It wore him out so much, he had to take a nap.
Well, because you could tell he was stressing. And like Dedra was like, it's fine. Like, because she was like making a mess. She's like, it's fine. You don't have to take your shoes off or whatever it was. Dedra was like, whatever, who cares? You can, it was her place.
And she's cool under pressure in a lot of ways.
Yeah, she knows how to play it straight.
Also what kind of tied back even to that point, Dan, was going back to Krennic.
Yeah.
Krennic said, and I love the way Krennic was brought in this and talked to Dedra, right? Dedra. Names are hard, people.
You're good.
But how he said, I know you have a plan. That's why I brought you here. You had a plan the first 5 or whatever, like the first time.
Yeah, that
I was like, dude, don't pretend like people haven't figured you out yet. Like the way they played Krennic and the lines he gave specifically to Dedra were perfection. And then that played back to whenever the first meeting with Edie. To Edie, and how she knew exactly how had to handle the situation. Yeah. And she just cuts right through all the crap. And she says, this game, it needs to stop. It's going to stop.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm going to do for you. And here's what you're going to do for me. Just lays it all out there. And Edie can't even refute it because Edie's getting what she wants.
Yeah.
And then so is Dedra. So I love that. I loved how they played that. It was genius the way they played it and how comical it was. Edie is a fantastic actress, and I love her for that. All of them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I still feel bad though for Cyril.
Yeah, it sucks for him.
Yeah, I mean, he must be happy with Dedra, so good for him. But yeah, he's rough in some ways, so many ways.
Yeah, poor Cyril. He's lived a messed up life, and he's just trying to kind of impress his mother. At the same time, he doesn't really care, but obviously that's all he's got. He wants to basically, prove her wrong by becoming the success that she doesn't think he can be, or that she expects him to be. And then when he fails, you know what I mean? You're always trying to impress somebody, and if it fails, then you feel like, whatever. And I'm sure that's part of it, because that's Uncle Harlow has helped him and this, that, and the other. And I mean, Hunter said, no, grade A gaslighter. But he's
yeah, seriously.
Edie was awesome, grade A gaslighter.
Edie was,
Edie, yep, and she just is toxic in every way.
She really is.
And then to meet Dedra, and Dedra's like, I know how to deal with people like you, and she just turns it around and tells her what's up, and
sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, Dan, but Tamerkins has a great take here as well. But the problem is also that now Dedra is going to control Cyril.
Exactly.
Is she going to make Edie back off, or is she going to become like another Edie to him?
I mean, I think it's inevitable. She's going to become another Edie to him. She already is.
Yeah.
She's just not as condescending.
And we talked about that in last night's stream by saying, psychology is a real thing. And sometimes you pick traits in your partner, not always the same, but some traits in your partner that you marry that is like your mother or like your father. And it's funny because you can see that in this. You can see
very clearly,
that he was drawn to a strong woman, that knows how to get what she wants. Edie was the same way, but just more manipulative about it.
Exactly. Well, and it's true. If all Cyril knows is like a toxic mother, then he would probably, find someone that's a little bit toxic and Dedra, but obviously she's going to wear the pants in the family or whatever, tell Cyril what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to do it. And obviously she's got more superiority in the actual imperial side of things as well.
Yeah.
So there's that front. I saw somebody earlier that mentioned something about,
that was
Tamerkins, a controversy with if she can't tell him about Gorman, the friction there of, is it going to become a problem in their relationship because of course all Cyril talks about and wants is to capture Andor and be vindicated, but so does Dedra. So I'm sure there's going to be they could play that. I mean, obviously he'll write it and it'll be amazing, but there's a lot of things that could happen for better or for worse, where she sneaks, tells him where to be, but doesn't tell him, and he shows up. And is she gonna potentially put her job on the line for Cyril?
Ooh,
is she gonna stick up for her man now that she's got love? Whatever this is, love with Dedra and Cyril.
It's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens.
Oh man, but that's got to be one of the most fascinating things in this show. It was the most fascinating thing for us in season 1. We freaked out in that finale when he saved her. And he's like, and he actually said, "There she is." like he was just standing there in the crowd, and he sees her.
Finally found her. Although he was actually okay. For all the people who say he was a creeper, yes, but also he was actually there to capture Andor.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that wasn't the creeper part. The creeper part was
he didn't know she was going to be there.
Yeah. No, he didn't. He just the creep part was when he found her after work or whatever one day.
Right.
But at the same time, he knew where he got interrogated, so he probably knew where she worked and wanted to have the conversation, but didn't know how to approach the conversation. And he went a little aggressive, grabbing her arm at that time, to talk to her because she was going to walk away. He's like, "What are you doing?" But then at the same time, Dedra has never known a man that could stand up to her.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or matches her on her intensity.
Matches her on intensity. And then they have a shared...
I think is what it is.
They have one common interest. It's amazing, that common goal, how it pulls people together, and just interesting.
And how they dive so hard into their work, I think, is another thing.
Yeah.
They showed that the first time we see Cyril in this. Cyril is him now being in charge of the place that he left off working at in the first season. Now he's in charge and he's telling this nerdy looking kid, I love it. I did not expect that comment from the trailer. There's a future here for if you're willing to take it or something like that, because he did the nerdiest found all these things. That's how he
thought it was going to be epic.
Yeah, and the way he did it was like, it sounded like an accountant's like dream. That's like what it was. It was like, I found the biggest problem in the company and it's saving us millions of dollars, like, or something like, I don't know. It was hilarious how he even explained it and how he found this fraud or whatever. And it led to all this thing. He was so proud of that achievement, which I'm not saying it was a bad achievement. It was a good achievement, but it was just hilarious how nerdy that was. But then how that ties to Dedra and how, fever she is to catch her prey. So that they're so similar in that regard.
Yeah.
But I do want to say here real fast. All right. Are we calling this right now? This might be a big call and I might be jumping ahead of myself. is there a possibility? I almost want to go over under, but is there a possibility that Cyril and Deidre end up on the rebellion side by the end of this?
Ooh.
I don't know. That's okay. It's been plaguing my mind. And we talked about it last
What
night.
happens when Bix comes across Dedra? And Dedra's like, I'm with the rebellion now.
That's a really good point. I don't know if that's going to go
and
very
then
well.
Andor sees her and is like, I got to talk to you.
I got a bone to pick.
And then Cassian sees Cyril. I mean, how deep is the rebellion gonna go? I mean, how far are they pulling people out of the Empire to fight back? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I could see, as there was in Ahsoka, where there was Fulcrum, and I could see where there might be informants. Maybe they could work with the rebellion, but they never show their face on Yavin 4. You know what I'm saying? Like, they stay a part of the Empire to connect, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But do everything that they can, because she's really high up, so she could get Fulcrum level security stuff and feed it to the, maybe she had something to do with the Bothans. Maybe she rejects the Gorman and she helps save somebody that would have died there, like Mon Mothma. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm ruminating. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's fine. No, I just had another thought though. I feel like one of the only ways, and this is a terrible thought in some ways, is Deidre would switch to the rebellion is if the Empire kills
Cyril.
That's a real thing that could happen.
Wait, say that again?
The only way that Dedra will turn to the rebellion is if the Empire kills Cyril.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's totally their fault.
Mm-hmm.
And she sees it for what it is, and she's like, no, I'm done with you.
Yeah, she would have to have, you're right, a 180.
I think that's one of the only things, unless he can convince her to go to that side.
Yeah.
Or maybe her boss or Krennic is like, okay, your man was following you to this top secret mission. You need to take him out.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, and she can't.
She has to prove her loyalty.
And she can't.
You know what I'm saying? There's always that crossroads, the Rix Road crossroads, the Gorman crossroad, where are you going to go do the thing for the Empire that you're supposed to do, including taking this guy out, just like Mon Mothma's having to face against Tay Kolma?
Yeah.
You know, watch your best friend from childhood be waxed because he's turned to the wrong side. She's willing to do that for the rebellion, clearly.
Yeah.
What's her name going to do that to fight the Empire to hold her own sense of sanity? I mean, that would be the only thing. I think you're right. That would do that. I see Take a Break Mate said.
A lot of people have thoughts on that.
Yeah, we got to get into that.
They took the Inferno Squad in Battlefront 2, which is technically canon, so the rebellion can basically take anyone. The Inferno Squad was pretty bad. That's a good point.
That's a good point, man. There were some other comments.
Deidre is so ingrained in the system. I just don't see her being able to turn back on everything she knows. Cyril is different because all he wants is justice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all she knows. Yeah, she's completely brain wiped.
But I like what KG said here. Dedra's hesitation on the Gorman thing makes me wonder, but I still doubt it for her. Yeah, that's the thing. So real quick, I know everybody's kind of got their own idea here, which is fascinating. It's an interesting topic.
It's also fascinating that everybody's very wrapped up in Cyril and Deidre.
Yes.
And it makes my heart happy.
Such a funny thing.
Why'd you have to do it that tone?
I don't know, because it's just the way it is.
It's creepy enough, so that tone is actually pretty perfect for it.
Yeah, it's true. And it's
dissonant. It's like a
dissonant.
That's what their love is, though. It's a haunting choir. So it's beautiful, but also haunting.
It's very haunting. It's scary. In fact, it's scary good. That's what's weird about it. I'm like, I don't understand this, but I guess it works. And
I still love.
I can't look away when they're playing the opera music, and she's so panache with her.
Yeah, what was that? That was crazy.
The food in the middle. What do they call that? I said it yesterday.
It's like the
fondue chicken meat thing with gravy. It's like a fancy Coruscant-y dish.
Yeah.
I want to know the names of those dishes so that like the finale we can eat that meal or eat like a meal from the show. That would be so awesome.
That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, Bismo says y'all were the OG shippers. We're the only weirdos that picked up on this kind of stuff.
You're not sure that's a compliment.
And you're right. We got lucky with a video that we did that got us excited because at the same time, basically the video that set this channel up for the beginning of success
of the end. Just
was a Cyril video.
Yeah, it was.
That popped off. It was like the first video, one of the first videos that popped off other than Laser Brain. And then it just kept rolling. We did a couple more, and for us, we're like, "Oh my goodness!" And people clearly liked it back then. They were just so taken aback, and
we were all looking for love. We were looking for ships in Star Wars.
Yeah, that's literally the only thing.
We found one.
That was the only love story they get. We had to cling on to whatever we had.
Exactly,
that was all we had, guys.
Yeah, we were desperate, and that was before Dinbo. Of course, then 3 or 4 months later, we saw the makings of Dinbo down to the mines of Moria. Mandalore.
A little bit more comforting, and
so we were like, okay, let's go to look. Oh, that's what a healthy relationship could look like. And then they didn't end up with it, and we're like, back to Cyril and Deidre.
Right. I see Christina B jumped in. Thank you for jumping in, Christina.
What's up?
Yeah, Babish can do an episode of him making the dinner meal. That'd be hilarious.
That'd be awesome.
Good crossover for sure.
Yeah.
Bowden for the win, says Bismo.
Nice.
Or Dimbo. We like to say Dimbo because it sounds dumb and funny.
Well, and I like also what Tamerkin said. Whatever happens, I think it's going to be tragic by the end.
Yeah.
I don't think she's talking about Stay on Target. I think she's talking about Dedrasil or Dedrill. What do we call it? Yeah, Dedrill.
What about?
She's probably right about Stay on Target.
Yeah. I had a combination of it earlier. I don't remember what it was, but I'll think of it.
I was going to say, all right, so going back to my quick question here of do we think they're going to switch to the Rebellion? I know Tamerkin said that they might see him going to the Rebellion, not her, because she's too ingrained in the system, which I can understand in a lot of ways. But they did it also in Rebels with
Callus. That was the best arc ever.
That was a fantastic arc, and it made you love that character so much more.
I mean, for crying out loud, Vader turned back to the Rebellion in the end.
Yeah, that's true.
He was the ultimate savior of the Rebellion at the very last second.
You're not wrong.
So if you can forgive Mr. Anakin.
Mr. Anakin
Bananakin Darth Vader. I mean, I'm just saying, she's creepy though. I mean, Dedra, when she's in game on mode, like I'm like, whoa. Like in that office, or in that space when she was talking to Krennic, like he was trying to be like forward with her and like, I know you were thinking of something. I read you like a book. You know, he was all trying to be, and it's true. Krennic is kind of a top, Imperial dude too. He was like, tell me what you think. I want to know. And she was just like, blah.
Yeah, she did.
Like, okay.
He was right.
And then she walked away.
Yeah, she's like, peace out.
When she walked away, I was like,
that's a bold
move. I'm like, yes, sir. Officer, sir.
Right.
She's just like, I'm out. I don't need to talk to you.
She doesn't really like him. I don't get the sense that she likes him at all.
That's interesting. Mm-hmm. That's very interesting because
I think she sees.
I don't think anybody likes Krennic actually. No. If you look back to Rogue One, he was kind of like Vader was like slapping him around. Tarkin was slapping him around. Because remember, Tarkin took his glory, and
I think the through line they keep with Krennic though is his lust for power. And people see that more than anything, and that's why they dislike him.
Well, yeah, and is that Dedra's goal?
Way.
Yeah,
is she wanting that power, or is she wanting to solve things?
Right.
Yeah, I don't think she cares about the power. Does she?
JQ says still a punching bag, Krennic. Basically,
he is still a punching bag.
Intimidating.
Yeah, or is she looking for attention? Is that what you're thinking for Dedra? Yeah,
it could be. Yeah, for sure. There's so many things. There's so many things we could talk about, and we will be here all night if we talk about every single thing.
Yeah, but my take is I don't think either of them will switch.
I was going to say, you don't think either of them?
I think they're going to stay Imperial till the end.
Yeah, that's probably most likely, but it would take a miracle to bring them to the Rebellion, but only Tony Gilroy could probably pull it off in a way that we liked it, or that it made sense. Yeah. And I think that's part of the tragedy of this. Or they just live on as because Krennic we know doesn't make it. Maybe they just live on and happily ever after, or they don't join the Rebellion, but they get out of the Empire. Where do you go?
Yeah.
If you're not a part of the Empire is everywhere, as we've seen.
Yep.
That's what this show is probably the best at, is showing you the weight of the Empire.
Dark they are. Oppressive,
like
man.
times 5 than season 1.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my goodness.
Then everything else.
They're like everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so just to if they did decide to disappear, where could they disappear? That's not. There'd be some outer rim system, but those are obviously occupied now. So
they
don't really have much choice. They have to either join the Rebellion and hide out with them, or they got to go stay with the Empire and be double agents if they wanted to join the rebels.
And Luthen's plan is coming to fruition. I mean, that's the thing. That's his goal. He wanted the Empire to tighten up on everything. He wanted them to oppress more because he knows the more you oppress, the more you hang on to something, the more you try to control things, it's going to burst at the seams at some point. And his plan is coming to fruition in this. I love it. I also see here, Take Break has a great one. He says, the road to the dark side is paved with peace, freedom, justice, and security. It's very true. It is very true.
And and ultimate power. Wait, no, unlimited power.
He said the line.
He said the line.
That's good.
He said the line. I love that he said the line. How fun was that?
He said the line. I mean, because that's apparently with the spider people and the thing on
okay.
The travel agency ad.
That was hilarious.
For like
that we got
5 minutes.
A travel ad. They let that ride too. They were proud of that travel ad. Yeah. You know, that they made that. I actually really enjoyed that.
That was the first episode?
That was the first episode.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was a good episode.
Yeah. It was fantastic, dude.
Wow. Yeah, it was pretty tough.
Speaking of the first episode, though, and going back to Luthen, I still really love Luthen's character in this. He is actually one of the ones I was looking forward to most in season 2, just for his monologues alone. And the line, though, we're going to skip to the greatest part of the entire, in Luthen's regard. I know you have character things, Dan. Sorry, if you want to introduce those at any moment, we can do that if you wanted to.
Well, I figure we'll save them. We can rapid fire them to wrap it all up.
Oh, good point. Okay. But Luthen, one of the greatest lines in this already was whenever he said, when Mon Mothma is like, I don't even know what you're talking about, basically. I can't grasp, or whatever she said. I don't know the exact quote. I've only seen it once. And it made sense for her to say that. And he said, you need to be protected. But then right after she said, I don't know what you're talking about, he says, how nice for you.
Oh,
perfect line. Perfect delivery. He knows his place in the rebellion. He knows. And that goes right back to his monologue in season 1, where he is the one who, what was it? He sees the sunrise he'll never see. That's the thing. He's the one that has to do the dirty work to prop up the true rebel leaders, to give people a sign of hope and justice, and that they're not getting their hands dirty. But he knows he can't be that leader. He has to be the ones behind the scene. He will never get recognition. He went into that for what he's done. And I love that about that character. It is genius to me. It makes so much sense, and I love him more for it in some ways, although he is very dark. But man, that was a great line. Great delivery. And also, oh man, the jumping from Luthen in some ways, but still tying in, was Perrin. I was not expecting Perrin to have as much of a role in this,
right?
As he did with Mon Mothma, and his monologue during the basically like the best man speech, but there's the bride speech. His monologue was fantastic, dude. It made you feel so many more different things. You're like, wait, does he actually dislike his wife, or does he actually still really like his wife? What's going on here?
He doesn't like her. He's just crazy. He's out of it. Nah, I mean, I think he does,
he
but
was performing maybe, but there's probably some truth to that.
I think there was some truth to it, because you saw the look on her face too.
Yeah,
they kept panning around to other people, and even Luthen, one of the ones was he panned to. And kind of the realization of Luthen trying to appreciate the little moments he has too. It kind of tied in that speech was tying into everybody in the room. And I was like, wow, this is a multi-layered like speech being given to father of the bride with this whole messed up situation, but he's finding the beauty, and it starts off, kind of tragic, and how, and it felt so much like a father of the bride speech. It fit so perfectly. Have we not heard speeches like that in a lot of ways at weddings?
Yeah, it felt so
great advice,
Did feel very normal. But I did hear that Gilroy mentioned that he liked Perrin when he was writing him, and he felt like after season 1, the way people just dismissed him, it made him upset, because he had tried to craft Perrin to be more layered. And then he said that the way that people just like, oh, Perrin, that guy's a loser. That guy's just a complete loser.
Okay.
And it kind of made him be like, oh, okay, I got to dig into this.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we're getting here at the beginning. Like, Perrin's not as simple as it looks. He's not as dumb and just one like note, I'm going to turn the daughter against her. You know, and you could see even in Mon Mothma's eyes, she was like tearing up, kind of looking at him, almost like I heard that, like maybe remembering the better days. I mean, Mon Mothma had to deliver quite the performance.
Yes, she did, man.
As a character and the actress herself, but the character itself was she was constantly like, "I'm so happy to say," you know, she was like, and then shocked,
back and forth. It was like a yo-yo.
Yeah,
you don't have to do this, Lita. You can be strong. And she's like, I wish you were drunk. And she's like. She's crying.
But then she switched, dude. That moment was so
I'm supposed
good.
to be in front.
I'm in front. She accepted the reality and took control of it, which, again, another sign of a true leader here, which I love what Take a Break here is saying, and Hunter, about Luthen, that we were talking about Luthen and how he doesn't need the recognition to still be the best and to be the leader that he needs to be behind the scenes. But Take a Break says, the greatest people plant trees they shall never see grow. That is a great line, man. And then Hunter Davis says, that's the mark of leading. Yeah, it really is.
Yep.
You don't need recognition for it. I mean, that's just being a good person and a good leader. So that's what Luthen's doing. And that's why it's tragic. Again, it's a tragedy in some ways. He's not getting the recognition that we feel like he deserves.
One thing that I thought was a little cheesy in the first 2 episodes or one episode, there's only like 1 or 2 parts, but there was a lot of times when like Luthen was just like sneakily walking and watching. I was like, I feel like
playing a bit of Cyril.
I feel like there was more than one moment where it was just kind of like Luthen walking through.
He was too obvious.
And I was like, Luthen, are you trying to be casually listening? Because the way your facial expression, you're definitely eavesdropping. Like if anybody looked over at him and be like, Luthen, you got a problem? Because we were only like 6 feet away. But that being said, like, I guess it makes sense. Like he's always on, and that's where they were asking. Somebody was asking Clea. They're like, "What are you doing here?" You know, and they're like, "Well, we got a gift, and then we're working." And
how cool is it that he was still tied in even with Davos Skolden? I was not expecting that.
Yeah, and on that, going back to Perrin, KG has an interesting theory that she thinks Perrin turned Tay through Davo. Perrin turned Tay Kolma.
I think he turned Tay through Davo.
Yeah, isn't that what I said?
Yeah, and doesn't want Mon to know, leaving Mon shocked because there was some complications.
Wait, so it was Perrin was the mastermind behind
that's KG's
Tay
theory.
Kolma betraying Mon Mothma.
Yes.
So he wanted to drive a wedge between them.
Yes.
Oh yeah, of course.
He knew, and he still.
But
does that mean he still wants her then?
No, he just might hate her that much.
He just doesn't want her to be happy or whatever. Because he was joking about, your boyfriend. He's clouded.
But then goes to the moments where small moments where you love each other. And
she said
stuff.
Luthen. She said Luthen turned him. Not
I misunderstood that. My bad.
I could see that. I could see Luthen going to getting to Davos.
You turned her against me. You've done that yourself.
You've done that yourself. That makes sense. That would be with Luthen. Okay, I thought
would that make sense with Luthen?
Because
that's kind of twisted.
Was also talking with them too. So
I could see both.
There's so much going on.
He was a little bit inebriated when Perrin was chatting with him, and he admitted, he's always been a weak whatever.
Yeah, Perrin was trying to tell Mon how bad he was.
Yeah.
I still feel like Perrin does like Mon. I'm getting that feeling.
I think he's a controlling person, and he wants her to listen to him.
But that speech, man, that speech was a good speech.
Yeah, but you're comfortable with what you know. Is that's the saying. Plus, they have power and
money, and
But it also because it might also be though the fact that the wedge was driven between Perrin and Mon. But that doesn't mean that Perrin didn't love Mon. Mm-hmm. It just might have been over time because of her responsibilities in the Senate and everything. But then she put even more into stuff, and it looks like she's just, pining for herself all the time and not taking the time to be with Perrin or develop their relationship. I mean, unfortunately, in weddings over time, there can be wedges that are driven if you don't take the time to spend time together. That was a lot of time. But you have to invest in each other always in your marriage to help it fully develop, although they were technically a arranged marriage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's fascinating. It's almost like he's still trying to get her love in some ways. Like he's never fully proved himself to her.
Right.
It's a weird. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. This is just me kind of spitballing in some ways, and maybe I don't know. I don't know what I'm going with.
It just feels
here,
like Tony Gilroy is playing 4D chess, we're trying really hard to keep up with it.
We're trying so hard, people.
It's fun though. Well, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's the thing that like we always would do, and we would always, I wonder if they're going to go this direction, and then we realized that the writer was like, we're way far ahead of that. Like we're thinking of all these theories. But I think Tony Gilroy is like 72 steps down the road on us. And I've heard that, I mean, I'm sure you have too, Dustin, but some of the people that saw this entire thing have said that the first arc was the weakest.
I have heard that.
That is crazy to
I've
me.
absolutely heard that.
So we're like, our minds are blown, but they said it's weakest in the sense that it's the most setup-y. And everything that happens here plays out perfectly through the rest. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So nothing is throwaway. It all weaves in. All of these conversations matter. All of the setup matters. I realized the only other character we never saw was Saw.
Yeah.
Seesaw is what we're going to call him from now on. We seesaw, now he goes.
Seesaw. we don't seesaw.
You want a seesaw? He is kind of like a seesaw too. He's crazy with his emotions.
Yeah. Oh, he is seesaw.
That works.
But
He's seesaw.
A year later, he might be different.
Yeah, he might be more stable now.
He
just needs a vacation.
Rogue One, people? Oh, God.
Been living in the caves too much.
Yeah, he's been
lost. Christine said there was a moment when Mon was dancing, and there was a close-up of Perrin looking at her with concern.
There's things going on.
There's things going on. It's very confusing.
It's very nuanced.
But sometimes you know how they do this in shows where they're like, oh, well now they're like this and now they're like that. But Tony Gilroy's like, I'm not playing you both sides just to like confuse you to make it interesting. Right. Like he's actually leading, like, because you're not going to know where any of these characters are going to land. It's like Clue. Like who's the actual villain here? Yeah. And then at the end, the rebellion lines up. The only thing we can say...
That's, spoilers.
Yeah, that's everyone. The only thing I think we can say is that we don't see Perrin in Rogue One or after that.
Yeah.
And there's no talk of Perrin. So if that's the end game, then I don't know.
But,
maybe he turns good and then he sacrifices or something.
But that's also, that's not necessarily like... That wasn't plot points for original Star Wars. That's something they're not going to add into the original Star Wars, is like, where's her husband? In the greater plot points in the story of the show, of the movies, they're obviously not going to talk about that because it's not important to the story, and you're trying to move the story along as quickly as possible. Whereas in the show, we are able to take the time to develop these things. So I'm not saying they're gone, but they could. She might have to make a choice.
Yeah.
And one interesting thing too, I did see online here, was one of the guys that was talking to her. I forget. It said his name. He said his. Oh, my computer died. Dang it. No worries. He was one of the guys. He's kind of handsome, hair looking dude. He said.
Yeah, I sent it to you earlier. Right?
Yeah, you sent it to me. Yeah, it was the connection
Erskine
between.
Was his name Erskine? Somebody or other.
But they tied it. That was in Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
That same dude was in Rebels as like her bodyguard type person, I think. So yeah, I was cool. I didn't know that. I didn't even realize that. And then they brought that in. But thanks for finding that, fact checker. That was
so
awesome.
much. I haven't actually watched any other YouTube opinions on it other than one, and
you will not divulge.
And it was our stream from last night.
It was our stream. It was just me. Only the parts that I talked. I was like, there was this really smart guy, and he really had good opinions.
Exactly.
And I agreed with everything he said. Actually, it's funny. I'll listen to myself back and disagree with myself. Have you ever done that?
Oh, yeah.
We've seen it live on stream, Dan.
Where I disagree with myself live? Yeah, thanks for the reminder. Right. He'll probably stay on croissant, though, instead of going wherever the rebellion goes. If he was... Maybe he was eating a cheesecake. Who was eating a cheesecake? Saw?
Seesaw? No, I think he was talking about
Perrin.
Perrin, yeah.
Why was he eating cheesecake? Because he was concerned, or he was just having a bathroom issue?
Just the cake at the wedding.
Oh, was it?
But I didn't want to pull.
Or Hunter just wants cheesecake.
Or maybe he just wants
Hunter, do you want some cheesecake?
I want cheesecake.
Who likes cheesecake here?
Oh my goodness, off target.
I like that. I'm using that in a short. That was a perfect shot.
Hey, don't make that something else though. That looks bad in some ways.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh.
I don't know what you're talking about. Wait, yeah, there we go. There we go.
I do. Pew pew pew. Hungry Hunter. Like hungry Hunter. That's how you gotta say it. Hungry Hunter. hungry, my boy. But yeah, I was gonna tie it back though. Of all the arcs though in these 3 episodes, where do they kind of land? There's the kind of Andor arc that we have. There's the Brasso Bix arc on the planet. There's the Cyril and Dedra arc, and then there's also the wedding arc, which I feel like the wedding arc takes up the majority in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's the through line.
It does pass between, but no arc was I disappointed. That's the thing. The only slight, like I wouldn't say minor critique, was just the pacing when it came and the time we spent with the Maya Pay. Is that what they were called?
Yeah,
Lost Boys.
Yeah, the Lost Boys. That was my biggest critique. But as far as like, I'd say if you guys were to rank it, what would you rank the through lines for 1 through 3? What would you put it at?
I mean, I was fascinated with the heaviness of the Andor and Bix and the Brasso. That felt really intense, the most intense. The wedding felt a whole slew of emotions. But did you mention Cyril and Dedra?
No, yeah, I did. Yes,
that was the lightheartedness.
Right.
That's so funny to say. And then I
For
think
these crazy people.
And then the darkest one was the Brasso and the Ferrex people. That was the darkest one. But it was interesting because the kid was having a love story, whatever. That was kind of a lighthearted thing.
Yeah, that's true. We got another love story.
Yeah, and then we got their little potluck dinner, that was kind of nice. And actually some happy moments in there. So even the dark
relatable moments.
Yeah, even though they felt the oppression of the Empire the most in this, they actually had some moments where they got to be human and exist before their demise, and sad moments and rough moments all through. But then Andor coming in and wreck and shop was good.
So which one, just going back to the original question, what would you rate at the top out of those 4 when it comes to, would you say?
I think the wedding was number 1.
Wedding's number 1.
What was
Cyril Dedra?
Probably
2.
Cyril and Dedra because it was so much fun.
And there wasn't a lot to chew on. There was.
What was the 4th option?
The 3rd option is Andor. The 4th option is Bix and Brasso.
Because Andor was on the thing. I think the Lost Boys was at the bottom, whatever that was.
Yeah, so that's Andor technically in some ways.
Yeah, for the first 2.
Or if you want to put 5.
For the first 2. And then Ferrex group was number 3 probably. Or 2. It was close.
Yeah, Paul, even the dinner party arc was fine. It was unique. I agree. I completely agree.
KG, I think the Niamos theme banger is ruined for me now.
Oh, no.
Because of...
because of Brasso.
Brasso.
That was a bold choice that they kept that music playing while panning over his dead body. I was almost I still had hope for him though at that point where I was like, maybe he's going to breathe. Maybe he's going to get up. Maybe there's going to be a sign of life. Please, Brasso, wake up.
Right. And Paul says here, even the dinner party arc was fine. It was unique.
Yep.
Yeah, the dinner party at the beginning, right? Not the wedding.
Yeah.
I like the dinner party.
Or was he talking about the wedding?
No, he's talking about...
That's pre-wedding, the dinner party.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the dinner party was fascinating. That was such a cool way of introducing everybody. And the way that the camera just kept moving throughout and you saw everybody. And
It's funny, though. The show's called Andor, and some of our favorite moments are not with Andor. Don't get me wrong. I still love Andor.
For now.
But, for now. But, the wedding arc was fantastic. Yeah, I'm not going to go into mine. Fact checker, what about you? Let's go into what was your top, your arcs if you had to rate them?
Okay, say them again.
Okay. We got the wedding arc. We got Andor's arc, including the Lost Boys.
Yeah,
we got
I agree
Bix,
with Dan. That's at the bottom.
Brasso, and then we got Dedra and Cyril. 4.
Oh, man, that is tough.
Let's start for the worst.
Worst is definitely the Lost Boys.
Yeah.
Andor's part in that was fine.
If he wouldn't have spent as much time there, it would have been better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And so I'm hoping for greater things to come with Cassian himself. But keep it on target. So that one's the bottom.
Nice reminder to yourself.
Yeah.
Keep it on target. I can do this.
You said Cyril and Dedra, Bix and Brasso. What was the other one? The wedding. Dang it. It's tough. I liked the wedding stuff too. There's so many dynamics there, but that would probably put it 3rd. And then probably Cyril and Dedra 2nd, and then Brasso and Bix.
Really? You put Bix and Brasso first?
Yeah, a lot of people like that one.
Yeah. I mean, it was hard.
Right.
But there's something to it that I keep thinking about.
Felt very Star Wars.
Yeah, it did for sure. That
just a nice, happy-go-lucky group of people just trying to make their way, and then all of a sudden the Imperials show up and cause a whole mess for everybody. And that was nice of them to hold them as refugees, but that poor guy, the shop owner with his family, thankfully nothing bad happened to them yet.
Well,
but is something going to happen to them now? I don't
know. But the fact that Brasso till the end was a hero.
Yeah.
He was a hero, man. He wanted to save people. Even what he did to that shop owner alleviated that shop owner of any guilt. He was trying to get the shop owner out. It was brilliant. It looked like from the face value, we're like, oh, he's being a jerk. What are you talking about?
It threw me.
But then you're like, no, he's actually saving that guy by saying you ratted on us. You did this to us, basically saying why didn't you, so he's putting him on the Imperial side is what he did to alleviate him. And
that's
the
true.
little smile they had there. And he also overheard the whole situation going on with Bix. And that's why he took off running to distract them so they couldn't go get Bix.
Yeah, fight. Yep.
So
even in his dying moment, he did sacrifice himself.
He sacrificed himself. And he did that for his friend Andor in season 1. He used Marva Brick to beat the Empire down, which is awesome. And tragedy for Brasso, that hurt the most in the entire show. Plus the ickiness we got right before this.
Yeah, but Brasso is a hero.
He is a hero, man.
And he should get accolades for that.
He should.
I think in honor of Brasso, since you did such a great job of giving him his eulogy there.
Pretty handsome man.
There he is.
He was a big dude, man. How tall is he? Fact checker, can you look up how?
He's as tall as Chewbacca, I heard.
Yeah. Is he really?
No, in Legends. I mean, a man as tall as Chewbacca,
he's
as noble as Obi-Wan.
I see here in the comments.